Testing mic, testing mic. All right, it looks like everything's working now. Just had to do a little bit of a manual reset. Oh, well. So, I hope everyone had a great Mother's Day. It is now Monday the 11th, the day after Mother's Day, and it is roughly 7 p.m. over here on the Pacific Coast. But, hey, we got a new One Piece chapter, and I said we would do a reaction to it when I got around to it. And because these reactions tend to be on the shorter side, what I'm going to do after is, for those that want to stick around after the live stream, I'm going to play a new game that I have downloaded on Steam. I believe it is called... What is it called? Alphabetically, it is here. It is called Kartalpi. So yeah, you can see it like right here, Kartalpi. It's something that I'll be playing after the stream for those who want to see that. Anywho, related news, just remember, if you want to know what I'm going to be doing and when I'm going to be doing it, this was announced on my Discord, and links to that are where links are. When this eventually goes up on YouTube, however, the part where I play a game will be edited out. That will be its own separate stream from this one, and you can expect it on the channel within a day or so after this goes live. And lastly, there is some other content in the pipeline, in the works, that I will get around to editing. Like, we do some React content that's on the channel. There's a playlist for it if you want to be keeping up to date on that. There's even a playlist for other streams of this. So, now that we've gotten all the news-oriented stuff out of the way, let's just go to the organic reaction / read-through of the most recent chapter of One Piece. Starting off page 1, we have chapter 1182, also known as Zaza, or Zaza. Not entirely sure what that's about. Anywho, we have another reader request, which is the cover art of Isho savoring a bowl of udon painstakingly crafted by a fox. And a tanuki. Alright. Not much more to say here. I don't really look too deeply at these, as I've said very much in the past, and anything I say at this point about the cover page is almost entirely just for me to fill time, so that we end up spending at least more than a minute on it. And yeah, there is a fun fox and a tanuki. They got headbands on, they look like Odin chefs, and they made Odin for Isho. Or Fujitora, as some of you might know him more favorably by, because Purple Tiger is a lot more memorable than random guy Isho. Wonder if this is drawn to be looking like it's on Wano. Not entirely sure if that would be the case. But it doesn't look like the scenery is something I've seen before, so without further ado, I believe I should just move on formally to pages 2 and 3. Okay, right. Pages 2 and 3 is definitely lighting up my memory, because the last chapter, Loki cannonballed Emu into the world tree and then shot a lightning ball at him, and we're now cutting back to a similar wide shot from what I remember from the previous chapter, of Loki flying in the direction after having shot said lightning ball. His presence is still there. It's hard to keep him in sight when he's so huge. Needhogger. To think I wouldn't see thee again in this world. Traitor. Oh, so this is basically implying, I guess, that Needhogg was on Emu's side in whatever the whole Joy Boy Emu Needhogger dynamic was 800 years ago, I guess. Or is it 900 years ago now? Because the Void Century is a Void Century. Also, something that I don't think is talked about enough about the Void Century is the fact that it is in itself a century. Because you would think about, like, Joy Boy, a war with the world government and the founding of all these nations. That's a 100-year period that we are erasing from history there. Whereas, like, almost all the key events that we're hearing about could theoretically last over, like, maybe 20 years. Because, like, a war lasting over, like, 20 years is kind of absurd or unheard of. So if there is a theory that Joy Boy and a lot of these other races were, like, long-lived species, like giants or something that live hundreds of years. So if it was a war between people like that are just living really long lifespans, you could imagine a war going on. But the reason why wars don't usually last as long as 10 to 20 years is because at a certain point, you run out of resources and you just can't keep going. And the most hard resource to replace is soldiers. Because, look at it this way, it takes like 20 years just to train up a soldier to be combat ready. So it's like, if you burn through all your soldiers because you're shoving them into a meat grinder, eventually you run out of soldiers, and there's not going to be enough new people to replace those soldiers for like 20 years. Which usually leads to you losing the war. And we're still on page 2. I actually still have more to talk about, so I think I'm going to go back to reading now. Alright, he's hacking and coughing. Oh, Emu's reacting to the snow. Lightning caused by an impact with ice. The affinity for one another was always great. Ragnir. Oh, so Emu recognizes Ragnir too? What was this dynamic of Emu and all these other people from the Void Century? So thou stayed as thou were in days past, waiting for a new master to come along. How familiar thy sight is. And it says, we got a note box. Hammer Ragnir. Squirrel fruit. Mythical type. Model ice squirrel. Ratatosker. As many people had suspected. From Norse mythology. The Ratatosker. The squirrel that climbs the world tree. Alrighty. And that ends pages 2 and 3, which means I believe we can start moving on here. I think I've said all I need to say about this, because we went on a huge tangent about wars and why it's really weird that this war between Emu and Joy Boy that happened in a Void Century lasted as long as it did. Or the events surrounding it expand so far outward that they had to cut off 100 years of history just for it to become a void. Well, without further ado, which I've started to notice recently that I say without further ado quite often, we're going to move on to pages 4 and 5. Oh, got some action panels here, so this is going to be a short read. I'm very vocal about how much I'm not a big fan of action manga because not a lot happens. Either you have to put so many panels that it becomes a pain to read, or you don't put enough panels and it's hard to interpret what's happening. Because there's not a lot being said in an action panel. Alrighty. He's firing another lightning bolt, I think. Ragna Quint arrow. What is this? It's kind of reminding me of Yasukani's Sacred Jewel from Borsalino. Gazing Eclipse. Okay. Bunch of horned fireballs with teeth are now flying at Loki. That seems interesting. And a bunch of fiery explosions. And thus, we have now finished everything that's happening on pages 4 and 5. You see why I'm not a big fan of action chapters? Because 2 attacks basically happened here. And then we get, like, a big panel showing mostly reactions to the outcomes of those attacks. And I'm going to have to babble for a few seconds on why this looks epic as it does. But because we're on Elbaph and the sheer sense of scale here is kind of all over the place, it's kind of hard for me to really get anything out of this outside of looking really deeply at the names of said attacks. Ragna Quint arrow, obviously a reference to Ragnarok, and Quint arrow because it's firing, I'm assuming, quintupled arrows, or a bunch of arrows. Now, Gazing Eclipse, the giant fire ring around Emu that has a bunch of eyeballs in it, is shooting a bunch of evil faces. So, I get the gazing part, and I guess the eclipse part is he's making an explosion that's really big. Or maybe those are dark smoke clouds. It's kind of hard to tell when everything's like shaded in all black. Well, let's move on to pages 6 and 7 now. Yeah, I did the meme. I hope you're all happy. Yikes, scary. Bonnie, come back this way. Oh, we're finally cutting back to Bonnie and Vegapunk. Should I be calling them Vegapunk or Lilith? I'm not entirely sure what the community is set on. I think most of them are probably just going to call them Lilith. Or I am not going to try and fight that. Of course not. I'm your guardian. I'd never let you do such a thing. But who is that? Oh, does Vegapunk not who Needhogger is? Or I would assume Vegapunk knows some more about the history than the average person. Are we going to get some more insight into that? He's clearly the superior of the Holy Knights of God, but he's not one of the 5 elders. A massive organization lasting 800 years. It's only natural that power struggles will breed deeper and deeper darkness. Which would mean... Oh, we're cutting to Sanji's group, because I guess we're not going to let Vegapunk Lilith finish that thought. Hey, Sanji, you're too hurt. There's no other chance for me, Bonnie. How was that, Sanji? I don't even need to take you out myself. Though it's incredible that you're even alive now. Oh, we're cutting back to Killingham doing something, I guess. Because he got buffed a while ago. So I guess we're going to cut back to this. Where are you going? Back to my mission. Can't you see my rippling strength? So long, sucker. And off Killingham goes, pewing off like the Roadrunner from a Looney Tunes cartoon. He still hasn't given up on kidnapping those children. And Sanji's gonna go after him, I guess. I can't let all of our battles be for nothing. This is the land that Usopp and Luffy have been dreaming about. I'm gonna keep Elbaph safe. That's so nice of Sanji. He's kind of like a big brother character almost to Luffy and Usopp, and it's kind of nice to see it actually expressed in moments like this. One of my favorite moments in the entire comic is a Sanji moment. It's the moment where he tells Usopp that there's something only you can do, which eventually leads to the build-up of Usopp being the one to shoot the cuffs to Robin on the Tower of Justice, or Tower of Law. I don't remember which translation Viz went with. Never mind. Sanji ruined it. He just said, it's the land of giant, beautiful women. Okay, never mind. I take it all back. Forget it. Sanji, you ruined the moment. Okay. Well, that was pages 6 and 7. I guess I have rambled on enough, so let's just move on to pages 8 and 9. Cutting back to the Owl Library for a bit. So, around the back, there's a hidden tunnel, ending in a secret room. And you managed to protect all the books from the fire. Huh. Well, I guess that solves that mystery. A lot of people were wondering if Biblio was ever going to do anything, the giant owl in the Owl Library, because it's called the Owl Library, because of course, why wouldn't it be if there's a giant owl there? And the owl has a devil fruit, and it used it to somehow save the books, and we didn't know how it did that, but nope, there's just a secret room in the back of the library that was saved from the fire for somehow. Are they going to elaborate on that? Thank you, I thought they were all lost. I'm mighty glad too, if I got to admit it. I'm even more perplexed about you than before, Biblio. We all are. And I guess we're going to cut immediately away because we're not going to elaborate on that any further, I guess. The Sea Cloud Port by the Western Village. And here we go. What's happening here? A ship has just been brought up. Hello? Okay, Somers is doing something, I guess. I guess Somers is getting a new ship. Is that what's happening here? This is Somers speaking. Did I Somers? I meant Super Somers! Oh my god, we're calling him Super Somers now? I found a giant ship to use. Bring the brats over here in 5 minutes. Alright. So, we have a very interesting look into what's going on with Biblio in the books. Robin is with Saul, and they're in the library. So this plot thread is done, so we can basically move on and cut back to it eventually when we need to answer some questions about the hows and whys. But for the most part, I guess that just means now that we know that the books are safe, they still have to kidnap the kids. But actually, Killingham's mission was to burn down the library. So is he on his way here to burn the books again? And the school? Or is Killingham going to try to kidnap the kids and bring him to Super Somers? I'm not entirely sure. He was very vague and he zipped off. Alrighty. Now starting pages 10 and 11. Pub in the Western Village. Look at the forest. It's a war scene. Oh, Chopper's here. They cut through your fingers. That cut through your fingers is incredibly sharp and clean, so they should reattach. Oh, that's good for Gerd. Chopper's putting her fingertips back on. But it'll take months for a full recovery, which is what we said about Loki. So why is Loki up and about still? I guess we should just ignore the time frame of what every doctor says in One Piece, because it's been very inaccurate throughout the entire series. Like, looking at Zoro's wounds throughout the entire story, he's always been told that he should not move, and that if he opens his wounds, it's not going to heal, and then he always does his thing anyway, and then he always opens his wounds, and he always ends up fine. So this is a weird trope that I kind of get a little bit miffed by. I kind of wish that the stakes of like a medical treatment were actually treated like the stakes of a real medical treatment. If someone says, hey, it's going to be months for that to heal, I would like actual months to pass before it heals. Alright. Thank you, Chopper. I feel so inadequate. I'm supposed to be the one who heals everyone else. That's right, Gerd is the ship's doctor, who we actually just got... The most recent episode of the One Piece anime just gave the Oda Box chapter where it did reveal that... Or I guess it was revealed in, like, the cover stories long ago. But they did just reveal for anime watchers for the first time that Gerd is the doctor of the new giant warrior pirates. So the people that are now anime-onlys should now be up to speed on who Gerd is and what her deal is. Maybe less about what her deal is, because her personality hasn't been fully on display yet. Just for reference, the most recent anime episode that introduced her was just like the episode where she's chasing Roto out of, what was it, Brickstein Castle? And what else? Yeah, so we saw her approach Brickstein Castle, and then we saw her chase Roto out of Brickstein Castle. That is the extent of Gerd's appearance in the anime up to this point, for those that are following the anime. That being said, if you're following the anime and you're an anime only, then you probably shouldn't be watching this stream right now, and I hope that you aren't. But if you are, hi! You managed to make it 19 minutes into a video about a manga chapter that is far past where the anime is. What are you doing here, and why? Anywho, please be forewarned that I did not give a spoiler warning here, because this is supposed to be my blind reaction to something I haven't read yet. And odds are you are watching this because you want to see my reaction to said chapter I haven't read yet. And I don't know why I'm doing this little bit for people that are clearly not here. Surely there's nobody here that hasn't... that is like an anime only. You shouldn't be here. There's nothing you can do about that. Thanks, Dr. Chopper, for helping Mom and everyone else. Okay, so everybody's getting healed up by Chopper. Colin's here, the kids are here, Rhodes here. Is that Kashi or Oimo? I get them mixed up. Well, one of them is here. And it looks like Hiruden's on the ground too. He's getting bandaged up. It's only emergency care. Once we're through the disaster, I can offer proper treatment. Ooh, ultra rare Gerd. My precious is chopped fingers. Am I dreaming? Is this official? I would give you all my fingers if I could. Don't. Harsh. I am unworthy of the gift of your sharp tongue. That's funny. I like the relationship between Gerd and Roto. It's kind of cute. Because they don't have a relationship. Oh, we get another panel with Gerd. But when I saw how you risked your life for your brother Bjorn, it did make me think a little better of you. And he's freaking out from the reaction there. Roto squirts blood when he gets excited. I have an excess of ultra rare Gerd. There goes her respect. That's funny. I think it's really funny that Gerd and Roto kind of parallel each other really, really well, because they're both they have very different views on humans, but they both treat them in very similar manners. Gerd supposedly likes to make little clothing for humans, and she does like fine little artistic things, but at the same time, Roto, who doesn't like humans, is doing what Gerd likes to do, but in a much more sick manner. By making clothes for them, treating them like they are his underlings and he is their god, and trapping them in a weird fake Lego world. Never change, Roto. Or do. I'm not picky. Alright, cutting back to Team Zolo in the Western Village. I appreciate it, Goldberg. Our legs can't carry us as fast. So Zoro's getting a lift from Goldberg. If I'm the only one on the giant pirates who didn't get horribly wounded. You know what? When you point it out that way, that's kind of surprising. As was just mentioned earlier, Roto got barb attacked by Sommers, saving his brother. Gerd got her fingers emu'd. Stanson and Hayuden got attacked by Emu, or got their attacks against Emu rebounded. I don't remember specifically. But yeah, that just leaves Goldberg. Where's Goldberg's shield? Is the shield injured? Plus, Elbaph apparel, I appreciate helping out. No worries, our captain's a friend's country is my country kind of guy. I can see why Hayuden thinks so highly of him. That black flame, though, it was transforming into steel bullets and bombs. And he clearly helped the Knights of God, who were already here, a power up further. What? That wording is weird. I'm not entirely sure what Zoro's saying there. If we don't put an end to them soon, things will get out of hand. Yep, we took out the Knights once. I guess I gotta take them out again. Let's see how tough they are this time, though. Moving on to pages 12 and 13. Port in the Western Village. Drinking pineapple juice for those who are curious. Sommers, I messed up. Summoned the wrong thing. Killingham, you didn't. Yes, what I'm afraid of. I got overzealous. So Killingham summoned something he's afraid of? You idiot. Now you're gonna be freaking us out. But you can still control it, right? Yes, still a sleep tid, so I think so. Well, what's done is done. Just hurry. We don't have time. Actually, I just remembered this chapter's called Zaza. What's Zaza? Is that going to be the thing Killingham's afraid of? What's done is done. I saw her on the way here. Oh, what about Gunk? We don't have time. What about Gunko? I saw her on the way here. But she's got to be dead, man. What? So be it. Great Emu's body is not meant to withstand the outside. But even pushing past that, the strength we need and the strength we ought to destroy are both right here. Do not disappoint the Great One. We must live up to his expectations, Killingham, of course. So what did Killingham summon? Western Village, rain, it's a downpour out of nowhere. What does this mean? It's flooding indoors. Don't let the wounded get soaked. Go capture those brats. What did he send? Colin Yolva. Ange is freaking out. Help us. There's something outside. I'm not entirely sure what's happening here. We were born in a place so high above all the rain clouds. Water coming down from the sky is a mysterious terror. They're afraid of the rain? He's afraid of the rain? After the people of the D and Nika, it was the most common boogeyman they warned us about. That in the lower world there's a monster called the Rain God that dumps water on top of your head. If they're afraid of that, well, I guess we're going to see a sleep tid version of a Rain God. We don't know too much about the gods in the One Piece. A few of them have been named over the years. I think there was like Kashigami, the Earth God. There's the Sun God Nika. I believe like there was like maybe a Wind God and something else. Was there a Rain God? There's a Forest God mentioned in the Harley text. I think that's all the ones that have been mentioned that I can remember, but I'm not entirely sure. Alrighty, page 14 and 15, another 15-pager chapter, so we're gonna end shortly. And whoa, what on earth is that thing? The God of Rain Zaza! Okay! That's freaking cool-ass design. It's got like a wicker-type hat, or like a cone-shaped hat. They've got stuff dangling from it. It looks like they got a giant arm made out of water with like prayer beads on it. Actually, I think they have multiple arms, because it looks like they're grabbing the roof of a village hut. They have a hand up in the air. They have a hand that seems to have grabbed the kids made out of water. And is that like a tail that they have over there that's also wearing prayer beads? Appearing to the rhythm of the prayers for rain. Ooh, it's Zaza. Freaky. And it appears to have a woman's face with a veil covering most of it from down here. So it's a very interesting and perplexing design. So we're starting to finally expand upon the mythology of the One Piece worlds. So this is the kind of stuff that I was hoping we would start to get into in the final arcs of One Piece. Alright, now take them away. Get ready, Summers. We can set sail at any time. Something's going on at the village. Should I turn around? Oh, nah, huh? Sanji is Zoro yelling at each other is how we close out the chapter. Hey, get the job done right. Same to you. Alright, so I guess Sanji's gonna go save the kids from Killingham, and I guess Zoro and Goldberg is gonna go take out Somers' ship so they can't leave with the kids. So that is my impression about what we are setting up for the next chapter. So, predictions and highlights. We're on page 14 and 15 already, so let's just say it. That's the God of Rain Zaza. That's a very, very hard to not highlight. I'm going to save an image of that for the thumbnail. So, I spent like a large amount of time trying to detail out this major big panel of the God of Rain Zaza, because it's taken up like 2/3 of pages 14 and 15. I would have loved to have gotten 2 more pages, so we can get a little bit more about it, but it's very interesting that we get some lore about the Celestial Dragons, that they're afraid of 3 things. They're afraid of the Rain God, or the Rain. They are afraid of Nika, for obvious reasons. And they are afraid of the D clan for reasons we don't know. They are the enemies of the gods. The D is going to remain a mystery for a long time, even though we're in the final arc, and I feel like this should be around the time we should be learning what the D does, or what the D is, or what the D is all about. The D gonna give it to you, I guess, but they ain't gonna give us D. We ain't learned D about D. Anywho, let's just keep looking at other things that I want to highlight from the chapter. So we get this big build-up about the Rain God. We covered that. Oh, how could I forget? We gotta talk about the one, the only, Super Summers. So there's Super Summers that we have to look forward to in the remaining chapters of Elbaph. I'm not sure if we're in what I would call the climax of the story, but we're basically setting up the final fights of the arc, I would hope, at this point. Luffy, we didn't cut to Luffy this chapter, so he's probably still eating. Loki is still in his dragon form, and he's still fighting Emu, who we didn't really get a lot of in this chapter. They exchanged basically 1 attack each at the start of this chapter. We got some backstory about Ragnar. Ragnar it was kind of implied from what Harold had said during the flashbacks, that Ragnar was probably around for the previous wielder of the Needhog fruit. This is basically just confirmation of it. So it's a hammer with a squirrel double fruit. That's some confirmation that we got there as well. And that Emu considers Needhog to be a traitor. And that Bratatosker over here, Ragnar, has been loyal to every user of Ragnar, or of the Needhog fruit, I guess. We get a creepy attack from Emu. I don't really care. Killingham runs away from Sanji to stir up some trouble. Right, I want to talk about this. We get a weird panel with Lilith where they're trying to figure out what's going on, and they want to know about Ragnir. They don't seem to know about, not Ragnir, Nidhogg. They don't seem to recognize Nidhogg or what role they seem to play in history, or maybe we will expand upon that later. Biblio has been hyped up yet again as another key point of a mystery that will probably get talked about possibly in the resolution after everything's been said and done before we leave the island. Maybe we'll get some more info on Biblio, but the fact that we're drawing attention to it directly by Saul and Robin means that we're pretty much going to get that answer probably sooner rather than later. And I don't think it's going to be a hanging mystery plot thread that we just don't address before we leave the island. And then we have Chopper patching up everyone who's been injured, which is good for Chopper. We love a win for Chopper. We get an almost romantic scene, arguably, between Roto and Gerd. But he fumbles that one, so we don't need to pay attention to that. And then we're basically setting up Sommers and Killingham as opponents for Zoro and Sanji, where we end the chapter on the God of Rain Zaza. I was really curious what Zaza meant, since that was the name of the chapter, and I was not disappointed in finding out what it was. I'm looking forward to seeing what it can do in the next chapter. Let's move on to the predictions. So, we're going to have probably Sanji fighting this God of Rain Zaza, which is probably not going to go well for Sanji because of his weird stigma with women. Now, is Zaza a woman? It could turn out to not be, because in Sanji's eyes, it just could be someone that looks like a woman but isn't. Who knows? Do gods count? Do sleep tids count? This might be a test for Sanji for where he decides to draw the line on that. And there's other people there. Sanji doesn't have to directly fight it. He could just save the kids. So he doesn't have to fight it to win. Because I believe his chivalry is he'll never kick a woman. But you could always interpret that into saying, I'll fight you defensively. But if he goes all hard-eyed Sanji, I think a lot of people are going to get upset, and that's going to be a little bit worrying. But as far as Sleep Tid monsters go, it doesn't look that scary, which is kind of odd. There's also a very weird possibility that they kind of foreshadow this a little bit, that yes, Killingham seems to be able to control it, but he might not be able to. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Sanji defeats Zaza by appealing to its nature as a god of rain, and then it just turns on Killingham. That could be how this resolves, and that would be really cool if that's how that resolves. Zoro just needs to slice up a ship. His thing is a little bit less interesting. The only thing interesting about what we're setting up Zoro and Goldberg to do is he has to deal with the new and improved Super Sommers. The Nidhogg fight needs to continue or conclude. They did confirm in a conversation between Killingham and Sommers that Emu's body probably won't hold out. Or was it, Great Emu's body is not meant to withstand the outside. That is a very weird and interesting term he says there. So it basically feels like confirmation that in the future Emu's gonna eventually need to peace out and go back to Mary Joa. Or Emu dies here, who knows? They could deal with Emu permanently, and then we just have to deal with everything that Emu has created. The world government, the five elders, and so forth. And then we could leave Teach to be the big bad for the remainder of the story. So, I feel like that's enough of a prediction section, so I guess we're going to start moving into the outro here. So, once again, I would like to remind people that streams like this were announced on Discord, as well as my break from streaming, which was announced on Friday, I believe, that I would not be streaming on Saturday or Sunday because I was going to be out of town. But it's Monday, I'm back, I'm home, and I'm ready to stream, I'm ready to edit, and I'm ready to start pumping this content out. And speaking of content, if you want to stick around, we're about to switch games. We're going to play some, we're going to play some Kartapli. So, look forward to that. So, for everyone else, this has been Sheet Streams. signing off here. But if you want to stick around, there's more to come. And if you're watching this on YouTube in the future, the video for Cartalpi, I'm going to do at least 2 streams on it, because as far as I'm aware, there's 2 different characters in this roguelike, and we're going to at least do 1 each. At least. More so if I lose. But that's content for another day. I'll see you all next week if we're getting another chapter of One Piece next week. But until then, stay safe. Join the Discord if you want to stay up-to-date on what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. And that's all for now. But for everyone else on Twitch, more to come. Stay tuned.